America's cherry growers produce about 370 million pounds of sweet cherries every year, including the popular Bing cherry, the Royal Anne cherry, and the delicate sweet Rainier cherry.
You can tell when Rainier cherries like these are ripe. They turn a golden red on the outside, and the inside flesh is white.
And believe it or not, this yellow-red Rainier and the similarly colored Royal Anne can be turned into the bright red maraschino cherry. But how exactly do golden red cherries like these get preserved into day-glow maraschinos? We followed the cherries from the orchard to Gray & Company, makers of Cherryman maraschinos in Dayton, Oregon, where the transformation begins.
These definitely look fresh picked.
They are. These were picked this morning.
And the first step to becoming a maraschino is a good rinsing.
This is just a huge hopper that we've dumped the cherries in straight from the field. We fill it up with water so they'll suspend and not crush each other. Then they go up this conveyor belt, and inside there, they get shaken, and then the leaves separate from the cherries.
After the shaker, the cherries tumble through a series of flumes that lead to giant pools out back.
Wow, this is one huge pool.
And not just one pool, try 66 pools, or ponds, that together hold 19 million pounds of cherries.
How many are in this one pond?
This will probably be close to 350,000 pounds of cherries.
The cherries are curing in a special solution of sodium dioxide that preserves them, calcium chloride to firm them up, and citric acid to balance the pH level.
And how long do they sit in this pond?
About 45 days.
That's how long it takes for the cherries to turn bright yellow, which means they're fully preserved and ready to be pumped back inside and pitted.
So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. It's pitting 20 at a time.
That's correct.
The cherries are scooped into the pitter. Then each one falls into an individual hole. The stems are brushed back and 20 knives pierce and pit one row at a time. Because it's working so fast, it's possible to miss a cherry or two. So an X-ray machine double checks each one.
The green X's are good cherries.
The green X's are good.
Yeah, and the red X's are a bit.
The pitted cherries get one more check by human eyes. As for the pits, they go to good use too.
The very large nursery down the road from us takes them away and uses them for compost.
Oh, wow. So you're using every little bit.
Yeah.
But they're still not maraschinos just yet. These cherries are boxed up in a saltwater solution or brine to preserve them during transport. Then they're trucked over to the processing plant.
All right, Sonny, welcome to the day spa for cherries.
Wow, this is huge. Look at these big tanks.
As soon as the cherries arrive, they're dumped into a hopper that pumps them into these huge redwood tanks for a month-long soak in some super sweet syrup.
It's about a 30-day process. The first 3 or 4 days are to get the brine out of the cherry. And then slowly we begin to add sweetener. 20 days into it, we start adding color. And this cherry is probably 3 or 4 days away from being a maraschino.
Over time, the cherries slowly absorb the sugars and coloring from the syrup.
Ah, the lab.
And samples are tested daily to check for just the right Brix level or sugar content.
And judging by how much the light refracts through that sugar, we can tell what the Brix content
Right.
is.
So we want it to be about 37.
A Brix level of 37 means the cherry is about 37% sugar, or sweet enough to be a maraschino.
All right, so 37.2 passes the test. It's good to go.
Yep.
The finished maraschinos are dumped into a shaker that separates the whole cherries from the broken ones. Then, the cherries are packed into jars and covered in syrup.
Basically, I'm just making sure none of the stems are hanging out over the edge.
And then, more than 2 months after the cherries arrived fresh from the farm, they've been preserved and sweetened and are finally ready to top off an ice cream sundae.